Hey guys, before we start the video, I just wanted to give you a quick update on the Yakitori Drift Experiment collaboration we're doing. It's going to be awesome. It's with Poor Man Mods, Elator, 1.3 Media Crew, Donald Jackson Drift, and we have almost reached the halfway goal of our Kickstarter campaign, which I'll link right here, or it'll be somewhere. If you guys haven't checked it out, please go watch the promo video. And if you have the means to donate, any little bit helps. $1, $5. We have different rewards to help try to get people involved in the film as much as possible. So please go check it out. And now let's get to the video.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Poor Man Mods. Today we begin the pursuit of MPGs, or the pursuit of fuel economy with this, or Project Gas Sipper, whatever I'm going to call it. I'm still not entirely sure yet what I'm going to call this. But today we are doing the baseline testing for what kind of fuel economy this car actually gets. But before I start off with anything I have to say, I interviewed my friend Daniel over at the MPG channel. He knows a lot more about fuel economy and is more experienced with it, so I asked him some questions about this whole project and got his input on some things. So I'm going to have you watch a clip of some of the questions I asked of him, and that'll be right here.
Hey, thanks, Freddy. You know, I was stoked when I saw your intro video for the IS300 because cranking up the MPGs is near and dear to my heart. Your primary goal, reduce drag. Start with basic maintenance. Don't put off stuff like doing the brakes and the alignment. If you got a little bit extra money, you could change the wheel bearings if it seems like they need to be changed. You want to do a fuel system clean, a thorough fuel system clean, and you want to run in a fresh set of plugs and a new set of wires if the old ones are looking ratty. Don't use cheap wires. Right, go for the good stuff. When it's time for tires, consider low rolling resistance tires. Let's see, you've got two 1545 17s on that IS300, I think, is a stock size. So you can look for a Michelin, a Pirelli, a Bridgestone, a Continental. They all make tires in that size. They're low rolling resistance. When it's time to change fluids, switch to full synthetics in the crankcase and in the trans. You want to scrutinize the car to see where you might be able to make some aerodynamic tweaks. That's often underneath and in places that you wouldn't really see. You don't want to do freaky things. You don't want to do things that stick out, but there may be places where you can put in little flaps, add some little airfoils, look at what the manufacturers are doing now, and apply that to your car. It's important to remember that each of these steps will only show incremental changes. They'll add up, but there are no boom home runs that are going to all of a sudden bring you a 50% improvement in fuel economy. It's just not going to happen. Every time that you put pressure on the pedal, there's a price to pay. So you want to do things like anticipate traffic, allow more space between your car and the car in front of you. You want to minimize lane changes on the highway and pick the correct lane. You switch lanes a lot, you're stepping on the pedal, all that sucks up gas. Pick the correct lane and stay with it. Keep cruising. Which brings us to cruise control. Cruise control does not produce the best MPGs once you learn to drive. It does if you don't have any, shall I say, discipline in your right foot. But once you learn to drive, you'll do better, fuel economy wise, out of cruise control. In the parking lot, you want to park in the shade, and you want to park so you can drive straight out rather than backing up. Skipping gears on the upshift can help to save fuel. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can try 1, 2, 3, 5. Get into that high gear quickly. Now that it's summertime, you want to use the air conditioning sparingly. Beware of anything that can increase drag. Heavier, stickier tire and wheel combos, gearing changes, they can all be culprit. Anything that adds significant weight can hurt your city mileage. So how will an intake, an exhaust, or tune hurt? You don't know until you test it. Advanced instrumentation provides the most bang for the buck. It sounds like your IS300 has an instant MPG gauge, but not an average gauge. Now, if your car doesn't provide one or both functions, you can easily plug something into the OBD port underneath your dash, like an Autometer Ecometer, or a scan gauge, or a dongle, a Wi-Fi dongle for iPhones, or a Bluetooth dongle for Android devices, and then you get an app on iPhone like Dash Command, which rocks, or on Android, Torque, which is awesome as well. There's a video on my channel that goes over the basics of plugging into OBD, so yeah, put a link over here for that. The Honda Civic HX is one of the greatest cheap commuter cars ever sold in America. It's a bit pokey, but it's fun to drive, and you definitely want to get a manual, not an automatic. The manual 99 Civic HX is EPA rated at 30 city, 38 highway, and 33 combined. I've been running somewhere in the mid-40s combined of late. I track every tank fill on Fuely.com. Slambo got to this point through basic maintenance and modern tech. I'm running Valvoline full synthetic high mileage oil and Michelin Defender tires, using Dash Command on the JVC head unit, and I'm getting ready to replace the header cat with a fresh MagnaFlow piece. We're going to drill it and add a new bung to accommodate a second wideband sensor to drive an Autometer air fuel gauge. Now, the car has a B&M short throw shifter, energy suspension shifter bushings, no brand lowering springs, and a strut brace. So it's not really modded for performance, it's modded to handle better, right? It's lower, you can go through the corners faster, and when you can go through the corners faster, you can carry that inertia into the straight. You're going to save on gas, because inertia can either be your friend or your enemy. You got to use it to your advantage. So this car, it is a bit of a dog, but it handles and glides really well. The goal here is 50 miles per gallon cruising speed. It'll do it now, but not at higher speeds, largely due to drag. I got work to do underneath the car. I'm fiddling around with a rear belly pan. It's stuff I've never done before, but hey, if you don't push it, you're never going to get any place. Hey, thanks again, Freddy. Now, the MPG-O-Matic channel's been around for a while. It's about burning rubber, not gasoline or cash. I've been living a dream, driving to the poorhouse since 2008, chasing these car stories. And I've shot with a slew of pro drifters, drivers, engineers, designers, and builders. And if you check out the F2F Insider series, you'll see all that stuff. So go over to the channel, check out our playlists, subscribe, and we'll see you down the road.
All right, thank you, Daniel. Right now, I'm going for the baseline fuel economy of this car. Now, it's not the actual factory fuel economy because it does have a lightweight flywheel, aftermarket exhaust, just a catback, and a performance air filter, not a cold air intake, not a short ram intake, but just a performance drop-in air filter. So those three things are definitely going to change the fuel economy of this car, whether it increases or decreases it. It's going to be different, it's kind of a bummer. I didn't get a completely stock car, but it's almost stock. It's only got a few things done to it. So right now I'm doing the baseline testing, and I am using cruise control. Now, like Daniel said, it might not give you the best result, but the biggest thing with this whole series that I'm doing, it has to be about consistency. I might not be able to get better results driving without cruise control than with it, but this build is not about getting the absolute best fuel economy. This isn't about getting 50 miles or 40 miles per gallon. This is about seeing if we can increase it just by modifying it. So I am using cruise control to keep it consistent. Every time we do a new modification, we're going to do the same speed. Right now I'm going 60 miles an hour on the dot. I have cruise control on, air conditioning is off, windows are up. I'm on the highway. We're doing highway fuel economy. We're not going to be testing city fuel economy. We're doing highway fuel economy because it's going to be the most consistent. Consistency is what is going to make this series credible, because if it wasn't consistent, people could be like, oh, but it's got this variable or that's happening or blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to eliminate as many variables as physically possible with this fuel economy test. So I'm at night, so there's less traffic, less reason for me to change lanes. Getting on and off the ramps will be a lot easier, even though just getting on the highway right now, I had to go full throttle because some dumbass, so that might hinder this right now. But driving at night, it's going to allow me to have the windows up with the AC off, because it's not going to be ridiculously hot. It's going to be easier for driving. Traffic's going to be better. I won't have to change lanes as much. And there might not be as many trucks on the road either, so drafting might not be an issue either. I'm also going 60 miles an hour when the speed limit is 65. I'm going 5 miles an hour under, so people are passing me and I don't have to pass people. I'm trying to stay as consistent as possible to get a repeatable result. So right now, 60 miles an hour, cruise control on the highway. I'm not going to get off the highway for these tests. I'm only doing highway fuel economy. I'm not exactly sure how many miles. I have in mind right now the track that I'm going to be doing for each fuel economy test. I'm not sure how many miles that is yet, but it's going to be the same every single time. And I'm also going to try to use the same gas pump every single time for consistency. I'm going to try to use pump number 1 at my local gas station, which is right off the highway, and it's closer to the highway, once again, to try to get as much consistency as possible. Because I don't want to be sitting idling and burning fuel. I don't want to have to wait for a pump. I don't want to get a different pump, which could be calibrated slightly differently, which could hinder the results. I'm trying to make this as consistent as freaking possible. When I fill up to keep consistency, I'm using the slowest setting on the gas pump. There's 3 notches on most gas pumps. I'm using the first one, which is the slowest. The reason being is if you use the fastest one, it can create bubbles and sometimes vapor can get put back into the pump. There's a whole article on why you should even do this, but it's going to ensure consistency because it will get a better reading at the pump, and it will make sure that there's fewer bubbles in the gas tank for when it fills up. So it's going to shut off it should shut off at the same exact time every time. If you do it on the high setting, there could be air bubbles in there. You can even try this. If you do it on the high setting, it's gonna shut off, and then if you wait a couple seconds, you can put more gas in there because the bubbles have calmed down. But on the lower setting, there's gonna be less bubbles, and it's gonna shut off at closer to the same exact spot every time. So that's why I'm doing that. I'm not doing it by hand, and I'm not doing it on the highest setting. I'm doing it on the slowest setting for consistency. Alright, I'm at pump 1 again, and I drove 27.7 miles. Let's see how much fuel it takes. Alright, so let's do the math. I drove 27.7 miles and I used 0.934 gallons of fuel. I'm actually pretty surprised. Now, keep in mind, this is strictly highway fuel economy, and I went up and down the highway, so I did both directions, so both up and down all the hills, so I did everything twice basically. So this averaged out to 29.37 miles per gallon on the highway. Now that is substantially higher than the factory fuel economy rating. I think this is only rated at 23 miles per gallon on the highway, but 29 miles per gallon, I'm pretty impressed. I can't wait to see what I can do with this. I've got a lot of mods in mind, so I appreciate you guys sticking around for this video. Probably didn't enjoy this video, but I hope you're going to enjoy the series. So I want to give Daniel a big thanks for helping me out with this video. I want to thank him for his time, for his interview, and you guys should go check him out. He's got a pretty awesome channel. You're going to learn a lot from him, so go check him out, and I will see you guys next time.